In this video we're going to go through factoring trinomials using what's called the AC method. And you would want to use this method, this AC method, if your A value on your trinomial, which is your coefficient on your x squared term, is greater than 1. So in this case we have a 4. If your A value is just 1, then you can factor these trinomials the easier way that you learned in another video or a previous section. Alright, so this is the AC method, and the reason it's called the AC method is because you're going to take A times C, and remember when you have a trinomial, A is the number that's in front of your x squared. So in my first example here in black, my A value is 4. My B value is the coefficient on the x term, so it's 4 as well. And my C value is my constant term, which in this case is negative 3. So the AC method, we take A times C, we figure out what that is, get that number, and then we want to find two numbers that multiply to give AC, but also add to give my middle number B. And then we're going to go from there and use factor by grouping. So let's do this first part with my first example. First thing we want to do is take A times C. So in this example, that would be 4 times negative 3. That would be negative 12. So we're going to set up this little chart thing right here. Alright, so we're going to take A times C, which is negative 12, and we're going to make this little graph like above, this little chart. And we're going to have to fill in these boxes with something that multiplies to be negative 12, but adds to equal B, which in our case is 4. Alright, so that's the first thing we have to do. What multiplies to be negative 12 and adds to be 4? So let's think about some things that multiply to be 12. Let's see, we've got 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. Alright, and we need these to multiply to be a negative 12. So that means that one of them is going to have to be a positive and one of them is going to have to be a negative. So when we add them together, essentially we'll be subtracting them because one's going to be a negative. And so if I have a 1 and a 12, no matter which one of these I make negative, I'm certainly not going to get a 4 out of that. And same thing with the 3 and the 4. If I make this a negative, then and add them, I would get a positive 1. If I make this a negative, the 4 negative, I would get a negative 1. So 2 and 6, they have a difference of 4. That's going to work for us. So since I want it to come out to be a positive 4, I'm going to use a negative 2 and a positive 6. Okay, so let's check it out. Do these two numbers multiply to be negative 12? Yes. Do they add to be 4? Yes, they do. So those are the two numbers I need. So now I go back to my trinomial, and I'm going to bring down the first term, and I'm going to bring down the last term. The middle term I'm going to split up. I'm going to rewrite 4x using these two numbers right here. I'm going to rewrite 4x as negative 2x plus 6x. So notice I haven't changed the value of my trinomial. I still have negative 2x plus 6x. That's the same as 4x. I just split this 4x into these two terms. And I chose the negative 2 and the 6 based on this little puzzle thing I did over here. Whatever these two numbers are in these boxes are what you're going to use when you split up this middle term. So now I've got 4 terms, and I'm going to approach this problem as a factor by grouping problem. I'm going to group the first 2 terms together. I'm going to group the last 2 terms together. And then I'm going to take out the greatest common factor from each set of parentheses. So in the first set of parentheses, the greatest common factor of 4x squared minus 2x would be, let's see, what goes into both 4 and 2? That'd be 2. And then variable-wise, they have an x. They both have an x in common, so I'm going to take that x out. So 4x squared divided by 2x would leave 2x, bring down the minus. 2x divided by 2x would leave 1. So you can always check this by distributing the 2x back in. You should end up with what you started with, which I do. My second set of parentheses, 6x minus 3. Let's see, 3 goes into both of those. So if I divide 6x divided by 3, I get 2x. And 3 divided by 3 is 1. Now, if you do this correctly, or if the trinomial is factorable, what is in these parentheses right here should always come out to be the same, which it did. So your last step of factor by grouping is to write down what's left in parentheses, whatever came out to be the same. That's your 2x minus 1. Write that down once. And then whatever's not underlined here, whatever's left, which is the 2x plus 3, that goes in the other set of parentheses, 2x plus 3. And you're factored. So let's check it. Let's just make sure that this is right. This will be our answer. Let's see. Let's use this color green again. So we're going to check. And the way you check if you factored a trinomial correctly is to FOIL your trinomial. So 2x times 2x would be 4x squared. 2x times 3 would be 6x, positive 6x. Negative 1 times 2 would be negative 2x. And negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. If you notice, these four terms here are the same as these four terms up here when we split our middle term. The 6x and the negative 2 are in a different order, but that doesn't really matter. And then we could combine like terms here. So we end up with 4x squared plus 4x minus 3, which is what we started with. So it all checks out. It's good to go. And we can be confident that our answer, 2x minus 1 times 2x plus 3, is the factored version of 4x squared minus 4x minus 3.